Hello, everybody. Damien from FlowForge here. Setup has been changing constantly, all the time right now. So this is the current setup. Today we're doing a productivity symposium in the Men's Academy, which is a fraternity that I've joined, which I've gotten a ton of value out of. There will be a link in the description to join this same fraternity and attend this productivity call, which this is something that I'd normally charge for. This would be like group coaching, but it's free for the Academy. So if you want to get it for cheaper, join the Academy and then join my Symposium, and then you'll get it a lot cheaper for that. All right. So today I wanted to talk about systematic thinking and creating systems in your life because let's just dive right into it. The thing that you need to know is that a system is like 20 times more powerful than you, because the nature of a system is that it's unfailing. It doesn't care. Like, it just does the thing, right? And so automation is the most powerful type of system, but there are many other different types of systems. But what systems are good at, what they're good for, is they create consistency, which is OP, because consistency leads to intensity eventually. Consistency is how you build anything great. Consistency is just where it's at. Like, I would much rather everybody in this call be consistent with whatever they're working on than have like a 12-hour deep work session. I'd much rather you work like 1 hour a day for a year. That's way better, like almost infinitely better, because then you're not having these productivity ups and downs, spikes. And you're going to be a lot happier as well by just being chill and like doing that. So systems create consistency and they reduce friction, which is resistance. These things are one and the same. Now, friction is a little interesting because you can actually utilize it for your productivity. An example of this is like blockers for websites, where it's like it takes a little bit more effort to go around it. And then that means that you're probably not going to do it. And so that's friction. A good system reduces friction for the output that you want, for the result that you want, and then potentially increases it for the output and results that you don't want, right? That's the way you can think of systems, is you're sort of like manipulating friction to channel resistance and sort of like make it dance for you. And so you are channeling yourself. And I like to call this the reactor mindset. So you can sort of think of yourself as this fire, and this fire is like your focus. And, you only have so much. It's a limited resource. You only have so much dopamine. You only have so much focus. You only have so much oomph in you to get the work done. And you only have so much desire. Like, that'll run out too. Instead of just like running around like a chicken with your head cut off, hitting all these different tasks, right? Like keeping them managed in your head, which, the human brain is extremely delusional and forgetful. And especially if you have ADHD, it's like, just don't even bother. Like, literally just don't bother. Like, you need things to be managed outside of you. You don't want to be the manager. You don't want to be the manager. And so systems are things that you create that manage stuff for you. They make everything easy. They reduce friction. And friction is like the main reason why you don't do anything besides resistance. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. But what this will do, when you offload work to systems, and that's another thing about a system, is once you offload the work to the system handles it forever. Like, it's consistent. It just stays there. It doesn't care if you're having a bad day or a good day. The system is still just there doing its thing, right? And that's why automation is really powerful. But there are multiple different types of systems. So I want to talk about a very powerful framework or tool called SOPs. And you might have been heard this get thrown around the academy a little more lately because these things are freaking awesome. These things are freaking amazing. And it just stands for standard operating procedures. This is probably the simplest kind of system. And this is like a kind of a blanket term for a lot of different systems. So a standard operating procedure, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a checklist. Like that is the most simple form of a standard operating procedure. And this will reduce decision fatigue. This will reduce task switching fatigue, which like part of the reason you feel exhausted at the end of the day after working is task switching. Task switching is actually the most draining. We've kind of looked at people and found that it's the most draining work activity that you do, where it's like you go from one task, which is like writing things on the computer, and then switch to like taking the trash out. As long as there isn't like a natural flow between those things, your brain hates that. It absolutely hates it. So standard operating procedures wildly reduce this cost of decision fatigue and task switching fatigue. Because instead of you having to change your whole mental mode, it's just like, oh, I'm doing the things, like I'm checking the boxes, and now I'm just going to move to a different SOP and then start checking these boxes, right? So having an SOP in your back pocket for anything, where it's like you don't have to think about it, you don't have to remember all the variables, all you have to do is open up the SOP and just start ticking the things one by one. And guess what? For every box you tick, that's a dopamine hit. And we talked last week about how dopamine is the doing chemical. So this is how you get a feedback loop that leads to flow. Is you want some dopamine hits during your workflow, and checking off checkboxes is definitely one way to get a dopamine hit. It's like you're getting the little reward, you feel satisfied, you actually see that you're doing stuff, which is so important. You need a feedback because if you're just like working in an echo chamber for 12 hours and you're just like working on tasks and it's like you don't even, like your brain isn't even really capable of seeing what you got done. And so that's another handy dandy thing about an SOP is you see what you get done, which is really helpful. And this is how you fall in love with work. And that's actually the most productive thing that you can do. If you fall in love with work and you have desire to show up and do the thing, that's the most overpowered system. And so bring this back to systems. You can sort of think of yourself as a system as well, where it's like the human being is basically a system that is driven by desire. Whatever's in your heart is going to manifest, and that's what your life is going to be. So wherever you are in life right now, like look around you, take a look around. The reason that this is the life you have and not a different life is because you have different core values than everybody else. And your core values, which are things that live in your heart, led you to where you are. And so systematic thinking can help us sort of engineer ourselves and engineer our desires to lead us into a better life. And you do that by changing your core values, where if you want a certain outcome, you look at the people who got that outcome, and then you try and identify the core values or the core principles that they live by. And then it's not just enough to know them, you have to get them into your heart, because the heart is sort of like, your mind is sort of like RAM, right? Like information will go in and it'll hover there for a little bit, but it inevitably just gets dropped. Getting things into your heart is like your brain writing it to the disk. But there has to be an emotional connection there, is the thing that I've found to make it the most optimized. So you can do this through meditating on the outcome, like perceiving what it would be like, how awesome it would be if you got what you wanted, right? Like this would be a really overpowered way to write things into your heart. Basically just try and find emotional value in it. You know, you can also think of it as a process. You can tell a story in your head of the work that you're doing and what it means. That's also very important, and that will help get things into your heart. You can think of yourself as a system, and you can think of everything as a system. Like systematic thinking applies to literally everything. Think about, I like this example to show just like how different of a worldview this is. is a cupboard is a system, right? And nobody would argue with that. They'd say, oh, it's a system, it's a storage system, right? But, oh, I didn't start the timer. Oh dear. I'm sorry, guys. I'll just have to watch the clock. But the cupboard is a storage system, as people would say. Like it solves the problem of having a place to put things. Like the input is a problem. I don't know where to put the thing. Output is you build a cupboard and then the problem is solved. That's the output. But it's more than that as well, because cupboard is also a system that turns human curiosity, or human hunger, more likely, into an output of the cupboard being open. And like, that's a weird analogy, but you can start to think of everything this way, where it's like, oh, input, output. That's the basic measure of a system. Like, that is the basic core function that defines, like, oh, this is a system. If it has an input and if it has an output. And then there's typically a process here. So it's input, process, output. And so you are this way. Everything you interact with is this way. You know, for example, you get hungry. That's the input. So you have hunger as the input. The process is you go to find food. The output is you wind up eating. And then you like the food more, which is now a new input that makes you want to eat that food again. So just like thinking in these chains of input-output, and you can sort of predict what you're going to get out of life based off of what you have going on around you, right? And so you can analyze yourself with this lens of like, okay, what systems do I have going on right now? What habits do I have going on right now? Because systems create consistency. That's what you need to know. And a habit is a system where it's like your brain has taken this thing and systematized it. So it's like it's created an input-output system for this one specific thing. Use this to sort of analyze yourself and get more clarity out of life and decide which systems you need to break and which systems you need to add. Systems help you enter into creative mode, and they help you get into a flow state because, one, they reduce the friction. Once you have a system, it's consistent, right? Systems create consistency, and they exist whether or not you use them or interact with them. So the structure that I like to tell people that they want for their life is you want to have it be such a way, and you can think of systems as like railroads, where it's like tracks that lead you to an output. And your computer is this too. Like, is your computer a railroad that leads you to an output of like scrolling on YouTube endlessly? Or is your computer a system that gives you an output of high quality work? And that's up to you. You can change this through extensions, and browser configurations, and maybe switching to a different operating system, maybe blocking certain things. Like, there's all these different things that you can do to change the system, and the system creates consistency, and the consistency is so much more powerful than you. Like, if with your limited effort, this is the highest leverage thing that you can do. Like, your limited effort will not take you very far, but every system that you stack is like passive income for your productivity. And I hope I don't have to explain how overpowered passive income is. Like, that is the number one thing you want in economics and like finance, is like, it's so much better if you ever have the chance to pick the passive thing, pick the bleed damage, right? Think about bleed damage in a video game. It's always OP. Any sort of passive or stacking damage is totally overpowered and broken in video games. And so systems in the real life are like that overpowered and broken bleed damage, but for your productivity. Because, you can think about it as like you're in a war with resistance, and systems are like the best way to like crack down on him. One of the best ways to crack down on him. And the world, which, resistance is also part of the world, like the enemy, has all these systems that are working against you. And so you need to sort of build systems that just cover like his attacks, right? Like, an example would be like a blocker, or using something like Untrapped, the extension for YouTube, and making it so that, oh, I'm going to configure this so that YouTube is no longer allowed to give me suggested videos. So it's like I can look on the homepage, I can shop around, I can click a video, but then after that, I don't get any more suggested videos. Like nothing on the side, nothing on the end screen, like there's nothing. So I just go there, I intentionally choose to watch a video, and then it's over, right? Instead of being sucked into this like endless loop of YouTube torment that you actually feel like crap afterwards, right? And then you didn't get anything done and you're sad, and it's like, oh. Or what I teach people is a good like life to have is sort of like think of yourself as like you're just a human. You're just kind of like this silly little being, you know? And you're not very effective at like anything you do. Like humans are powerful, but if you think of all the powerful things that we've done, they're all built on systems. Businesses are systems. Countries are systems. Culture is systems. Culture is systems. Like literally, it is. Systems are the thing that allow us to be powerful. They are actually where literally almost all of our leverage comes from. And so this is the most overpowered thing that you need to learn, and you need to start incorporating it into your life immediately if you want to get better results. And it's even better than working harder. It's so much better than working harder, in fact, because it's passive income. It's the bleed damage, right? You just keep stacking enough of them, and then you're going to be overpowered. So because you're this like silly little human and you like forget things, you get distracted, you know, all these things, yada, yada, yada. And you need a safe space for this. So that's kind of what I'm talking about is like you need to make a space where it's safe for you to be a human and to just be like this sort of nonchalant being. Because that's what you're always going to come back to, right? Like you may have days where you can crank out like a 12-hour work session in like a pure blissful flow state, but then like you're always going to wind up like going back to the potato chips and like chilling on the couch and like watching TV, right? Like it's just going to happen. And so you need to like make a safe space for this where it's like it's okay to chill. It's okay to not be like extreme and like super hyper intelligent, ultra masculine, whatever the hell, because like that takes time. It takes a long time to get there, to develop character that much, right? And you got to be enjoying the ride because you need more dopamine. And dopamine, you know, because dopamine is the wanting chemical and it's the doing chemical. And so the more dopamine you have, the more work you'll do just naturally. The way I want you to think about this is like build your life like a lobby where it's like you're allowed to kind of do whatever you want to do. You know, you can chill out. You can go over here and do XYZ. You know, you can do whatever the hell you want. But you have all these entry points, which are your systems. And so in the lobby, there's like these portals or these gates that you can go through where it's like you're entering the dungeon, you know, except instead of fighting through the dungeon like a normal person where they're like swinging their sword and they're like, rah, rah, like trying to get their productivity done, you know, trying to fight off distractions and all these things. You just like a system is like having a macro at the ready that's like auto completes the whole dungeon for you. And so you're just like, oh, I'm just going to like go through the portal and then like click the button and like open up, which is like opening up your SOP or like starting your automation and just like going through your workflow piece by piece and not having to think about it. And then you're just like on railroad to success. It's like automatically like, I want you to envision somebody like what's that called? Like bunny hopping through the dungeon and just like spinning around and like smacking the enemies and then just like bouncing like all the way to the end and like picking up the treasure and like picking the most optimized loot drop every single time and then just like bouncing out of the dungeon. And it's like they literally are just like unscathed, right? And it's like,
You mean speed running?
yeah, like speed running. It's literally like speed running. Like systematizing is like a speed running strat for your productivity. And it's also extremely economical. Yeah, you know, that's really, really good. That's like, that's actually what it is. It just makes you overpowered. You just become a speedrunner and you just do exactly what you need to do and nothing else. And it's all there. And it's a feedback loop because you're getting the dopamine from like checking off the boxes, right? But an SOP can be more than that as well. An SOP can also be a flowchart. where it's like you just look at what's next in the process, and then you have forks in the road where it's like, oh, if this happens, then do this. If not, do this. Or like, if this happens, then delegate this to this person. It just reduces the friction. Going back to the fire thing, like your brain really does work in flow. Like that's kind of how it's designed to work. Humans just do the thing that is easiest. We take the path of least resistance. We are like water. And so you need to build the channel to create the flow instead of like trying to use discipline and burning through your dopamine supply with discipline and like exhausting yourself to no end and like running around your whole life like a chicken with your head cut off, fighting these monsters in the dungeon when it's like you could have just automated the damn thing. You could have just put in like a few extra hours, and that those few extra hours give you a return on your investment that is like stupid, like just dumb high. Think in terms of input, output. And in fact, a good system, I'll tell you, is like input, process, output, and then the output becomes the next input. When you have something like that, that's really overpowered. Let me try and think of an example here. Let's say the input is you buy an asset, and then there's a process that you go through that like increases the asset's value, and then the output is money, and then you take that money and you buy another asset with it. Like that's that's a broken system. Like you're just printing money. I mean, there is a process you have to go through. It's not like it's completely free, but you know, that's literally how a business works. And that's how your productivity can work as well. If you're doing a self-eval, like I have a self-evaluation system. I haven't done this. I probably should. Where something I could do is, you know, I will tell you the system I have right now. So I do have a desk that is completely separate from my main desk, and it's just for my self-evaluation. And that's to add friction. So it's like I go over there. That's also a trigger for my brain. So it's like I know I'm in like this meditative thinking about my day mode. I kind of use self-evaluation as journaling. Like they're kind of the same thing to me. It's just a little bit more output oriented. So I go over there, I sit over there, and there's only one thing for me to do over there. Like there's no distractions. There's nothing for me to do other than open my notebook and do the self-evaluation. And I have a timer that goes off every day. And that's another thing is like, when you have this easy point, it takes away so much worry, which is draining and burning through your dopamine. It takes away so much worry, and just like having this consistency where you know for a fact it will get done the moment. Like I know that if I move to that desk, even if it was right now, if I just like slid my chair over to that desk, I would basically just be in an optimal state to start doing the self-evaluation, and it would be the easiest thing to do. So I just do it. That's why it's really OP, because it's like you are guaranteed results every single time. Whereas with most of your life, just like using your human system is very good at making other systems. That's what we're really good at. But it itself as a system for productivity is not so good. It can't really be trusted. So don't trust it. Just make space for you to be very human, and then pile up these systems slowly, one by one. And then it's like you just interact with the portal, and the speed run starts, and you just like go through and hit all the things, and then you're good. If I wanted to tie the input to the output, what I could do is then after my self-evaluation, I could prompt the next one where it's like I could write a question for future Damien on the next page, where it's like the output of today's self-evaluation becomes the input for tomorrow's self-evaluation. And I should probably do this because that would help with like the temporal flex, where it's like you forget things that you are supposed to be focusing on. All right, guys, that's the 30 minutes. Now we're going to switch into everybody can talk, and we'll talk about productivity, and we'll discuss things, and we can talk about your personal productivity.
Oh yeah, I just You brought up task switching a couple of times in the last couple of symposiums, and it just it makes me think of my work. I think I've mentioned on various calls, which everyone was present. I do pest control, and that involves it's a really easy job, but it involves going kind of from stop to stop, and each one of those stops is like a task switch. Like even if it's the same. Like say if it's two Sprandy webs, right? Like it's the same task, but like it's a different account, it's a different house. Like it's sort of mentally a different task, even if it's the same thing. At least that's how I tend to experience it. And like I said, my job's really easy, and I am out walking around a lot of the day. So there's some physical activity to it that would make me tired, but I'm way more tired from it than I should be. And I think it's just all this task switching that I'm doing and I just
Mm.
don't really enjoy it. So it's draining in that sense.
So the thing about task switching, it's based on your perception, right? So if your brain perceives that there is a switch going on, that's what's draining. If your brain doesn't perceive a switch, it's actually not draining. It's, again, like our brain works in flow. And so if you perceive that there's a switch, it's going to be draining. If you don't, there's not. So what you can do, I think I gave the same advice to somebody else last time, where it's like you need a mental theater of operation. And this can be a system that you work on, a mental system, if you would, where you need to get into the mode of like an athlete. Like an athlete is task switching so much in a game, right? Like let's say you're playing soccer. Like you're going from like offense to defense to like looking at your other teammates. Like there's so much going on, right? And you're constantly switching your attention on all these different things. And that is draining, but it's easier for the athlete. Well, one, there's a bunch of dopamine associated with sports, and you kind of need to turn your productivity into a sport and have like an athlete mindset for your productivity. But it's not so bad because even though they're switching between all these different things, their frame of mindset is this is all the game. Like I'm playing the game. Does that make sense? And so
Yeah.
for you, like for the pest control, it sounds like you might be getting a little too comfortable, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's actually a very good thing. But try and like expand the scope of that comfort to the entire quote unquote game of the of your pest control job, where it's like instead of thinking about them as like these separate like chain events that you're like switching to, try and think of it all as like one checklist where it's like we go to this house and we spray, then we go to this location and we spray, then we go to this location and we spray, and see how it's like one continuous chain. Change the way you think about it. You might burn a little less energy thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
So the way I viewed productivity in the past was like I entered directly into the dungeon in firefighting mode. It's like I'm in the middle of a raid, I'm behind, and I need to catch up. Whereas what I'm hearing you say is like view it like you're entering the guild hall, the lobby. Because the question I was going to have was just these systems have felt oppressive. Best word, like they're heavy, they're too much, it's too rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have
Yeah.
done some work to figure out like there's like a emotions underneath that I'm not feeling, like shame or something. But it um hearing you talk about this in this way is actually really helpful in and of itself. Um just giving them labels. But I'm curious, like, Damien, I've seen your uh setup or and dashboards in places, but it's like honestly they feel very. Actually, I don't even want to judge them. The way I interpret them is like a battle station, and it triggers that part of my mind that's like, oh, okay, so we're in dungeon mode.
Mm.
How
I kind of experienced that as
what?
well.
Yeah,
It
what
almost like the
can we do?
systems can, yeah, the systems can almost work against you if you're overwhelmed by them.
Ah, I see. Okay. So that's actually a different problem that's a problem of overwhelm,
Okay.
right? Like the reason you see the system as like a bad thing that feels overbearing and heavy, which that's resistance,
Mhm.
right? We know that's resistance. Resistance is anything stopping you from achieving the goal. The reason it feels like that is because everybody, me included, in the past, feel like you're in the dungeon 24/7, where it's like you're crouching down and huddling in the corner, where it's like you feel like the productivity is looming somewhere in the maze, and like you're just trying to live your everyday life, but it's like you just feel it there, where it's like, I'm in the dungeon. I don't know where the difficulty is going to come from. I don't know how difficult it's going to be. And this is kind of what life feels like, right? Because life throws things at you. So, one thing that helps with that is you viewing your life as a system and optimizing that system for stability, where it's like less things are going to be thrown at you. Whether that's creating boundaries with people, whether that's maybe like moving to a different
Right. So, like,
location. Yeah.
literally just
Boundaries,
looking at the to-do list can trigger these feelings of just like, oh, look how
100%.
much shit I have to do.
Because then you don't
Rather
do
than
it,
it being like a menu
piles
of
up.
like, oh, I could do this.
I really, really like that wording. And that is actually how I view my to do list, which there's another thing that I have in my to do list where it's like, I only ever have 3 things at a time. So the way I like to do lists is I have a to do list and then I have a do list. There's this buffer between all the tasks that are like on the back burner, like all the wall of options, right? And the things that I'm actually doing, where it's like I'm only ever going to allow 3 tasks to be on the do list at a time, period. That's it. There's only 3. And it's like, this is my intention, right? So I'm not telling myself I need to get these done because I'm thinking in terms of like, oh, I'm a fire that just burns through tasks. Like I have this ability to burn through tasks, but I have literally no way of knowing how long they will take. Like that's up to God, right? That's in God's domain, you know? And so that's not my job. It's not my job to set deadlines. It's not my job to like do all this crazy stuff. It's just my job to pick the one that I'm focusing on. And I guess you could say I almost have like a 3-tiered system where it's like I have to do, and then focus. Another little dot in my checklist is like, is this the thing that I'm focusing on? That helps me not get lost. So I just view myself as like, yep, I'm just burning through these tasks and I'm the one who gets to choose what goes from the to do into the do. And then I also get to choose what I'm focusing on. And so, like, just having options, like having a mindset of like, oh, I have options, that automatically makes you feel more powerful, which makes it much less overwhelming because you feel overwhelmed because you feel like you don't have a choice. Like, you have to do these things. So the moment you add some choice into it, it's like, oh, I'm cool.
Mm.
But I really love what you said, like thinking about it like a menu. Um, and the reason I really like that is because here's the thing, guys. Tasks, the nature of tasks is that they make more tasks. Like they are like rabbits. They like have babies like while you're doing them. And so that's another reason why it's just like deadlines kind of suck. Like they're just unrealistic. I like targets. I don't like deadlines. And deadlines are scary. What that means is that tasks are always going to outpace you. Literally always. Like you're not crazy. There really is just too much to do and you can't do it all. Period. That's it. And so if you know that, now you don't have to worry about doing it all. It's like, oh, it's just the endless like stream of tasks and I just get to like pick and choose the ones I want to do. And your productivity is actually more about picking the right tasks than doing all those tasks. Does that make sense?
Honestly, I feel like this comes down to death. Like, I'm not accepting the fact that I have only so much time to live, and I'm like, oh, I can do all this bullshit, or even all these tasks, but like, I don't have forever. None of us do,
Oh,
and so there's this like grieving almost that I have to do. Of like, I cannot be perfect.
yeah.
That's real shit, bro. You know what that reminds me of? Is I forget what it's called, but there's a principle that
It,
says the
it,
work expands to fill the time you allow to it.
Yes, Nathan. I've heard that before. It's
Yeah.
very true.
In the context of of this, I guess, if you're sort of not accepting that you're going to die, then it's like, well, and I do the same thing. It's like, oh, well, I have so much time. It's like, actually, you don't. Um, and one other thing that came to my mind when you were talking about the checklist and options giving you power, I find that to be a double-edged sword. Because on the one hand, if you have a small list of tasks that you really don't want to do, then you're in that scenario you were describing, where it's like you're forced to kind of just do these few things you don't want to do. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have too many things to do, even if some of them are things you want to do, that could be overwhelming too.
Oh yeah.
Just too much choice.
We're basically all living in decision paralysis 24/7 because of the internet. Like decision fatigue is horrible when you're using YouTube. Decision fatigue is horrible when you're using social media. It's like draining so much of your brain power and it's sapping your dopamine. It's actually not sapping your dopamine. It's more like economics. It's like inflating. It's inflation. Like that's how addiction works. It's like it's giving you so much dopamine that your dopamine becomes worthless. And then it's like doesn't have the power that it used to, right? And so
Mm.
I'm telling you, you will be much happier when you create an intentional YouTube experience. And you can still use YouTube. Like what I do is I use Untrapped and I use a feature on it where on my work account, it redirects me to my subscription page. So I only get to choose from my subscription page. And then it does let me shop around because it's on my work account where it's like there's only going to be things that are related to productivity, like being suggested to me. Um, but then on my personal account, where it's like just my chill, like I'm just want to watch YouTube and like chill out account, I have that set so that it redirects to my watch later. And so I just, every
Mm.
time I open YouTube, it goes immediately to my watch later. And so I just pick the videos from there.
Mm.
That's much, 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 much easier than constantly being blasted with this like worrisome stream of like, oh, I need to stay on top of things. You don't. Like, this is what I've learned is like, there's so much happening that you don't need to stay on top of things. Period. Like, you just don't because there's so much happening all the time. It's impossible. You're not going to. Period. And this is the same way. Like, this is a freeing mindset of like, there's so much that it doesn't matter. There's so much that it doesn't matter. Same thing with the tasks. Like, I want you to think about the tasks in the world as like this mist that envelops you. It's like, it's so much bigger than you. It's like looking up into the starry sky. It's like all the things you could be doing, right? And instead of being overwhelmed by it, just let it be like the nature around you, where it's like, oh, I could go down this path, or I could go down this path. I could go down this path. And guess what?
Mm.
I'm not doing any of them. I'm going to just like decide and like think about the one that I really want to go down. And then I'm going to go down that one, you know? And just like don't be overwhelmed by it. Like do you walk outside and are like overwhelmed by the amount of trees around you? Like no. That's silly, you know? Like that you don't go into a forest and are like scared like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many trees. What do I do?" You know? Like that's just the nature. There's tasks everywhere. There's I could stand up and start like hanging up a poster right now. Like I have posters that I haven't hung up yet. I could do that. I don't want to. I'm not going to. That I can do that another time when I feel like doing it. Am I going to be like feel like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get all my tasks done. I need to like make the room pretty immediately." Like no. That's not what I'm doing.
I actually think this relates to like people pleasing for me because at some point when you were talking, it's like, oh yeah, I was picturing YouTube, right? It's like these are people trying to communicate to us, and I was picturing them like surrounding me, and it's like, dude, there's fucking hundreds of them all
Yeah.
like yelling at me, like pay
Yeah,
attention to me, and
dude.
it's like, wait, I'm trying to please all of them rather than like actually listen to myself,
Yeah.
and it's funny, but it's like I really oh that's the word boundaries. Like it's like putting up these boundaries. What the hell does it mean? And you're kind of talking about it. Like one way to view some systems is that you're creating a boundary,
Yeah.
like with the to-dos thing. Like I'm not going to look at my whole fucking to-do list every time I want to pick something. I'm actually going to look at my smaller to-do list. But that means that I have to actually do the hard work of creating, putting up a boundary. Like that's not most difficult thing, but it is a significant step that I've like not understood and so ignored.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, this is the work because it's, yeah, otherwise it just gets, the way I wanted to relate it, a final point here, is actually this feels like we're doing magic. And to me, magic is kind of like working on the um, willpower, if you, at the higher sense. And in magic, it's all about creating containers, structures, vessels, and that's what this feels like. Is we're just doing magic, but to be productive.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. You're creating
because
containers. I
I
like
mean,
that.
even earlier you were talking about emotions and stuff. It's like, yeah, like you want to have a ritual to put you in the right state of mind, to have things sink down to your heart, and it's like, yeah, we're really doing magic. I just thought that was funny. I don't know how relevant that is, but could
Yeah,
be
dude, like
explored later.
the sort of like Jungian. Yeah, dude, no. I like that view. It's you're creating containers, and the goal, like ultimately the goal is to sort of block off all this random crap that's assaulting you, because there's random crap assaulting you all the time, and like tanking your dopamine, or like random tasks that pop up that you actually don't need to do, and you think you do, but like you're in the lobby, but you're like so traumatized from the dungeon you think you're still in the dungeon. Like that's what's going on, right?
Yeah, yeah. You view the people around you as goblins, and it's like, well, yeah, that'd be overwhelming.
But yeah, like you create containers, you create boundaries. I like the word intentionality. You create intentionality with everything. Like you don't want to live an unintentional life, because that's a life where you're in flow, but you're led around by the systems of the world. You're led around by the people around you. You're led around by your emotions. You're led around by all these things. Like the more intentionality you add into your life, the more sovereignty you have over your life. But ultimately, like, tying it into like kind of what you're talking about, like you want, like, the ultimate goal is to have a healthy relationship with work. And what does a healthy relationship with work look like? A healthy relationship with work looks like, man, I love working. Like, I love being able to wake up and like go and like walk over to my computer, and I know that I'll like go on this like daisy chain of dopamine hits that leads me to an outcome that makes my life better. Like, doesn't that sound so nice? Right? It's like
Yeah,
it's like YouTube shorts, but fulfilling, and makes your life better. And it stacks over and over again, and it just keeps getting better. It's so cool, you know? And then you can also get into a flow state. And oh my gosh, dude, flow states, like, once you sort of get to the point where you know how to unlock a flow state for yourself, which I mean, it's actually a lot easier than I thought it was, uh, when I was getting into productivity. Like, once you get to the point where you can sort of like at will have a flow state, that's like the point where it's like there's no going back. You're like, dude, this is freaking awesome. Like, what have I been missing out on all this time? That's my suggestion: is create systems and optimize for flow and optimize for happiness and dopamine. And then you're gonna love work. You're gonna fall in love with work, and then you're gonna live like your most productive and fulfilling life because you love your work. Dopamine daisy chain. I'm gonna start using that. Dopamine daisy chain. That's what your system should be.
just I've heard you talk about that. Maybe it was you, but like I think one of the mistakes I made was also like living the wrong kind of life. Like I don't think I was sinning by any means in a moral sense, but I was like not following my path or God's path. And
Mm-hmm.
what we're talking about here is like figure out what that path is and then learn to love it.
Yeah.
Like create the systems and do the work. It's like, yeah, I didn't enjoy my time when I thought programmer, uh, building things for other people. Not evil, right? But just like trivial or not
They have
really
nothing to
mine.
do with your purpose.
Right. And instead when they do, it's like, oh, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And I will
yeah.
say, you got to be careful, because like there is a certain way to play the game at the level you're at. Like, play the game at the level you're at. If you're like level 1, then it's like, yeah, you just kind of have to like do work for other people, and it kind of sucks. You know, you have to like go grind out in the forest, um, to like up your levels to where you get more power and sovereignty, and then you can do things that you want to do. At the same time, there's nothing stopping you from choosing to have a better mindset about that. Where it's like, I'm going to purposefully romanticize this workflow and this period of life that I'm in to basically optimize for dopamine, even though it's a discouraging situation. Let's say you're broke. Let's say you're like dead broke, and you have like a dead end job, but you have an idea. Like, I know that I can make this thing, and I can give it to other people, and they'll give me tons of money for it, and then I can keep improving it, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be like this feedback loop, right? Well, you can tell yourself this story in your head of like, oh, so this kind of sucks. Like, I don't like working this dead end job for these people who don't really care about me and just see me as like a work slave robot machine for like doing their stuff, and they like yell at me. Like, that sucks. Like, that sucks really bad. And I wouldn't want to live my entire life like that. I can't. I've been fired from most of my jobs because I just couldn't do it. You can, like, if I could go back and change things, what I would have done is I would have just reframed it as like, okay, yeah, I'm in like the beginner forest, and I just kind of have to like go through this sucky process, but like keep the eyes on the prize sort of thing, where it's like, as soon as I have enough money to exit, I'm going to. I don't know, like, make it kind of like a movie, because that's stimulating. That makes dopamine happen, and that's good. Your brain likes dopamine. And when you get dopamine, you do work.
Yeah, I think succinctly, I would say that the difference between like suffering and sacrifice is just the meaning,
Yeah,
the story you tell around it.
absolutely. You got to be make sacrifices to be productive, but they don't always have to be like these insane sacrifices. Like, sometimes it's just like, I'm
Right.
going to put it in my calendar that like I'm going to, so it just plays an alarm where it's like a reminder of like, oh, I have the choice now to work on this or to not work on this, and my goal is to work on it my goal is to work on it an hour every day, but if something comes up, I won't, you know, and just kind of have that mindset of like pick and choose, where it's like, oh, do I want, and that's the thing is like, again, like the heart is the engine of the human. So, and dopamine is the wanting chemical. It's the desire chemical as well. Like, it covers all these different bases. So, like, what you can do, that's kind of why I said, like, make it an option, is because then you can ask yourself, do I want this badly enough? And then, like, just asking yourself that question, if the answer is yes, you're going to do it. And you're not going to feel nearly as much resistance, because it's like, oh, yeah, this is something I want to do, versus like, I'm enslaving myself and like forcing myself to use discipline and be productive. You know, like, that's creating an unhealthy, toxic, traumatizing relationship with work. And you want to escape that. You want to break free from that.
Dude, I kind of wanted to go back and dive into that concept of dopamine inflation that you talked about earlier. I kind of love that
Oh,
analogy. The
okay.
way it gives you the way it's like giving you so much more dopamine, but the quality of the dopamine just continues to decrease. I never thought of it like that before, but as a Bitcoiner, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. No, dude, it's exactly like economics, where it's like, value is inherently derived from scarcity. And so if you want to have a more valuable life, oftentimes you just need to make things more scarce. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive, but like, if you want more abundance, have less.
Yeah.
And so if dopamine is like the fuel that you're using, and discipline is like a crappier version of that fuel that mixes in like fear and exhaustion, and it's actually sometimes okay for like kickstarting the engine, but like, if you want to go far, you just have to be happy. Like, that's the secret. You just have to be happy if you want to go far. It really is like economics. It's like, you add more dopamine through these addictive behaviors, which make you feel like crap anyways. So like, why are you doing them? Like scrolling on YouTube Shorts, scrolling on TikTok. Porn's a big one that like destroys your freaking dopamine system. It's absolutely horrendous. If you have this problem, I recommend looking up easypeasymethod.org. Literally just reading that book will make you quit. Like, literally just reading it will stop the addiction. It's really cool. They explain how that works in the book. So just go read that if you have that problem. Any type of these things that like spike your dopamine or lead you on like a dopamine trail and train, it's like your brain only produces so much, but this is making like even more. It is exactly like economics. It's like you have too much dopamine, so the dopamine you have isn't actually moving you, and you just live in this like paralyzed state of like needing more dopamine, but the dopamine you have doesn't make you do anything to make your life better and get more dopamine. It's a vicious cycle. It's an addiction, and I would redefine. I want you guys to redefine addiction as anything that you know you shouldn't do, but can't stop doing, even if it's um seemingly small, even if it's seemingly minor, even if it's something like getting angry at somebody when they do something like that opens the door to see like, oh wait, I have a ton of addictions. If you read Easy Peasy Method, that will also help uh, with any addiction. So that's my recommendation. It's a free book on the internet. Just look it up.
Well, just on your last point, I think the human animal is sort of an animal wired for addiction,
Oh yeah.
given the way that the dopamine reward systems work.
Oh yeah, almost inherently. And
I mean,
so
isn't
you want
an
healthy
addiction
addictions.
like isn't an addiction just a like corrupted system?
Yeah,
Like it's gone it's gotten hijacked
Hmm.
or gone wrong.
that's a great way of thinking about it. Systematic thinking. I like it. The input and output is both suffering. Like, because you suffer, you reach for it, and then it makes you suffer more. And so what do? You reach for it again. It's a
Right.
vicious system. It's a really
Yeah.
optimized system for suffering.
I mean, I've heard this. Oh, I think it was Healthy Gamer. Great channel.
Oh, yeah. Love that guy.
YouTube channel.
Dr. K.
It's like uh, porn addiction is like I think I'm saying this right. Is like fundamentally a loneliness thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like or maybe it's improved as you get social support, like friendship. So
Mm-hmm.
I really, I mean, I think it just boils down to like happiness. Like if you have a happy life, you're not gonna go
Yeah.
look for
There's just no need.
these empty calories.
The number one thing that breaks you free from addictions is the truth and awareness. Self control and awareness are literally the same part of the brain. And it was pretty cool because me and my friends were doing a discussion about the Bible last night, and we found this verse. I think it's the seven spirits of God in Galatians, it talks about, I believe, where one of them is self control. So, like that, if you tie that together, like from the biblical perspective, it's like, oh, awareness and self control and God are the same thing, like the exact same thing.
Mhm.
So where there is awareness, God is there, and where there is awareness, there is truth, and where there is truth, the truth will set you free. And like we find that is literally the best way to break an addiction is to like just get somebody to be more aware about the cost. Because what an addiction does is it makes you like tune out, and that's how people relapse is when they're tuned out. Like you don't have to have discipline to have self-control. You just have to like bring your awareness to it and assess the costs and like monitor the internal conflict. And that will literally resolve it for you. Where it's like, "Oh yeah, of course I want to do that because that's what I want to do. Why was I thinking about reaching for like a frickin' Danish when I'm supposed to be working?" You know? Like it just doesn't make any sense once you actually bring awareness to it.
Yeah, I do want to say there is a process to that. I think this is from
Oh yeah. Yeah, no.
but like you don't want to fight it initially. Like the goal is actually to be aware and do it anyway. Like to smoke a cigarette with awareness
Yeah,
and do that until like somewhat naturally you'll be like, okay, this is gross. I'm done.
exactly. So yeah, just bringing awareness to it will change the desire because you'll start to realize like, oh, I'm actually not getting anything from this. Like it's actually just sucks.
I think something that would be helpful, I guess even now, but in the future, is, and I'm thinking about this for the whole academy, but to
Mhm.
have some kind of it doesn't have to be done in advance, but to have a like a I think you're doing this. I wasn't looking very closely, but to have like an outline and a summary or overview, like at the end, or like when
Yeah.
we're in discussion, to have that open, because it's like, okay, he
Mm.
said something, but I fucking forgot what it was, and I had a point on it, but like we talked about five other things after that.
Yeah.
Additionally, I think that would help then, because I think you're going to do this. Ask us for like to post on school about this. It would be helpful to have that. But
I see
I don't
what
know,
you're
some of that.
saying. Like points
Uh,
basically being taken down as we're talking, where it's like, oh, that's what we're talking.
right.
Okay, yeah, no, I can do that. Um, I'll just have a notebook open on my desk next time.
Just like very minimal, just to like jog
Yeah,
the memory.
Do you take notes, Anthony, while you're listening? 'Cause I've been taking notes this whole time.
I recommend that.
It I
When you
uh
can, I guess.
sometimes, but not.
I recommend taking notes because one, if you forget it, you can look at it again. But two, just the fact of writing is like putting it in more places in your brain where it's like spatial, and you're like reiterating the patterns as you're thinking about it and writing it. And so it's making it more sticky. I actually recommend that if you are going to watch YouTube mindlessly, just have a notebook on you and take notes. Because one, that'll bring awareness, but two, it'll be that you're actually learning stuff instead of just like data in and then the data never gets written to the disk.
I I actually do approve of encouraging us all to take notes. I do think that it's still helpful for not really just this call. Like this call, I think I agree. It's like a lecture, but I don't
This
know.
is an
Just a
academy.
thought.
No, but this is an academy. Like we're here to learn. So note taking makes
Yeah.
sense. Let's go.